I didn't have cash to tip my waitress, so I gave her a lottery ticket as a joke. We agreed to split the prize if it won. The next day, I walked in and asked, tip or ticket? She picked the prize. Then I told her we won $2 million. You sure about this? Jess asked, her voice barely above a whisper, like saying it too loud might make the truth evaporate. She held the lottery ticket in one hand, the phone in the other, and kept blinking like the screen might suddenly correct itself. I nodded once, slowly. Check it again if you want, I said. But the numbers are right. There was a moment, maybe two, where everything stood still. No clink of dishes from the back, no chatter from the single table of college kids nursing milkshakes in the corner. Just me, her, and a silence so thick it felt like it had weight. Then she exhaled. It wasn't relief. It wasn't joy either. It was disbelief coated in suspicion. You win $2 million, she said slowly, eyes never leaving mine, and you walk back in here with a coffee and a smile? I smirked, trying not to look too pleased with myself. I said I'd be back, didn't I? Jess set the phone down like it had just insulted her and braced both hands on the counter. Okay, back up. Start from the beginning. Why the hell would you give me half? The truth was I didn't have an answer that made sense to most people. Not on paper, anyway. But last night, when I realized I didn't have enough cash to tip her and she was wiping down that counter like it owed her money, something in me shifted. I'd offered her the ticket as a joke. A Hail Mary. A little spark of something different. And she'd grinned at me, rolled her eyes, and said, fine. If it wins, we split. If not, you owe me double tomorrow. It felt like a joke. But I'm a man of my word. Especially when the universe calls your bluff. Now she stared at me like I just handed her a briefcase full of explosives. So, I said, drumming my fingers on the counter, what's it gonna be? The tip or the ticket? She didn't smile. Not yet. Her jaw tightened, her eyes narrowed, and I swear, the air shifted again, something behind her eyes calculating, weighing, wanting. I picked the prize, she said finally, and her voice was steady now, like she just stepped into something bigger than both of us. And I leaned in, just a breath away from her ear, and said quietly, good. Because we just won $2 million. Jess didn't move for a good 10 seconds. Just stood there, fingers pressed to the Formica counter like she was bracing for the whole diner to tilt sideways. Then, without a word, she poured me a fresh cup of coffee. It felt surreal, her going through the motions while $1 million secret hovered in the air between us like fog. She slid the mug toward me. I caught it halfway. Still taking it black? She asked, eyes sharp but voice neutral. Yup. I took a sip, mostly to buy time. My hands were steadier than hers, but not by much. She leaned back against the bar and finally let herself laugh, soft, dry, disbelieving. This is the part where you say, just kidding, right? Or tell me it was a prank and you were filming it for YouTube or something. I shook my head. Nope. Checked it 5 times. Scanned it at the station with the official app. It's real. She looked past me, unfocused, like trying to see the future through the rain-streaked diner window. Then she whispered, what are we even supposed to do with that kind of money? I shrugged. No idea. But we've got time to figure that out. Jess looked at me again, more carefully this time. Why me? There it was. The real question. Not about the money, not about the odds. About the why. I didn't answer right away. Because if I told her the truth, that last night I saw how tired she looked, how fake her smile was, how her manager had chewed her out for something she didn't do, I'd have to admit how much I noticed. Instead I said, because I made a promise. She studied me like she didn't quite believe that either. But she didn't press. Not yet. Part 3, a decision forms. I should call someone, she said suddenly. Like, the lottery office or... I don't know. Someone who handles this. We will, I replied. After breakfast. You hungry? She blinked. You're calm. Like, weirdly calm. We just won a life-changing amount of money. Yeah, I said, stirring sugar into my coffee just to have something to do with my hands. But it's not real until the check's in hand. Until then, we just play it cool. She gave me a look that was part admiration, part suspicion. Are you always like this? Only when I'm falling apart inside. That made her laugh for real, an actual laugh, not the shaky one from earlier. Okay, she said, voice lighter now, but eyes still scanning me for some crack in the story. So what happens now? What do we do next? I lean back on the bar stool. We make a decision. Quietly. Carefully. You can walk away from this, Jess. Nobody knows you're part of it. Or we cash it in together. She went quiet again. $1 million. Split between 2 near strangers who met over late-night coffee and tired sarcasm. She bit her lip, still holding the ticket in her hand like it might vanish. I need to think, she said. I need time. Take all you need, I said. Just remember, we're already in this. Together. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the window panes. And somewhere behind her eyes, I could see the question forming. What does it cost to suddenly matter to someone? Jess folded the ticket in half, then in half again, until it was no bigger than a sugar packet. She held it tight, like she was afraid letting go might cause reality to unravel. You ever hear that story, she said, about the guy who won the lottery and then his whole life fell apart? I nodded. I've heard a few. Divorce. Cousins crawling out of the woodwork. People turning cold. Yeah. Her eyes locked onto mine. So why are you smiling like this is the best thing that's ever happened to you? I didn't have a perfect answer. Maybe it was the best thing. Or maybe I just wanted it to be. I leaned forward, elbows on the counter. Because I think maybe for once something good didn't go to the wrong person. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Something flickered across her face, something heavy and personal. She looked down, and when she spoke again, her voice was low and almost bitter. You think I'm a good person? Don't know you well enough to say that, I admitted. But I've seen you show up every night for minimum wage, get yelled at by customers, and still remember how I like my coffee. That's gotta count for something. She looked away. Her shoulders tensed. If you really knew me, you wouldn't be handing me half a fortune. Try me. But she didn't. Not yet. She tucked the folded ticket into her apron pocket and cleared her throat. So what happens if I take the money and run? I smiled. You mean besides me crying into my badge and telling the guys at the station I got hustled by a waitress? Jess gave a dry laugh, but there was no heat in it. I'm serious. So am I said. You could. I can't stop you. But I don't think you will. Her jaw clenched. For a moment, I wondered if I'd misread her. Then she said, You're right. I won't. But don't think it's because I trust you. It's because I trust me not to be that kind of person. Fair enough. We sat in silence, the kind that doesn't need to be filled. The kind that holds something between it, fear, hope, maybe both. Then Jess said, Meet me here tomorrow. Same time. I'll have my answer. And you'd better have that tip, officer. I stood up, dropped a couple of crumpled bills on the counter, and met her gaze one last time. Deal. As I turned to leave, she called out softly, Hey? I glanced back. If we really cash this thing, promise me one thing. Anything. Don't let this make us worse. I nodded once. I won't if you won't. Outside, the morning sun was just starting to burn through the cloud cover. But something in me stayed overcast. Because deep down I knew this wasn't just a twist of fate. It was a test. And I wasn't sure if either of us was ready for the answers. I showed up the next morning 10 minutes early. Not because I was eager, okay, maybe a little, but mostly because I didn't sleep. I kept running through every possible version of what today could look like. Would she show? Would she back out? Would she be waiting with a lawyer and a list of terms? Instead, I walked in and found her wiping down the same counter, wearing the same tired apron, but with eyes that looked like they hadn't blinked since yesterday. You're early, she said without looking up. You're here, I replied. Jess grabbed a fresh mug, poured me a coffee without asking. She didn't speak right away, and I didn't push her. The silence between us had weight now. Not awkward. Just charged. Finally, she reached into her apron pocket, pulled out the folded ticket like it was radioactive, and set it down between us. You're sure you don't want to just take it all? She asked. I mean, I barely did anything except agree to your weird little gamble. I shook my head. A deal's a deal. Her lips twitched into the ghost of a smile. That's what I figured you'd say. I leaned in slightly. So, what do you want, Jess? The tip or the prize? She stared at the ticket for a long moment. Then, without ceremony, she slid it back toward me. I want the prize. I nodded slowly. All right. She crossed her arms. So what now? We go straight to the office and claim it? Or do we hide in a bunker and wait for the world to forget our names? That made me laugh, just a little. There's paperwork. Appointments. Press avoidance strategies. But yeah, we'll do it together. Jess chewed on the inside of her cheek like she wanted to say something but couldn't quite commit to it. Then finally, You haven't told anyone? Not a soul. She gave me a long, careful look. You're a weird kind of honest. Cop thing, I said. Too much truth in the blood. That got a real smile. The first since I'd walked in. Then her phone buzzed. Just once. A short, sharp sound that cut through the morning like a scalpel. She looked down at the screen and her face changed, just a flicker, but enough for me to notice. What is it? I asked. She hesitated. Jess? It's nothing, she said too quickly. Just my ex. He's been texting again. I didn't press, but something about the way she tucked her phone away made my stomach clench. Like we just stepped off the edge of something and neither of us realized it until our feet were already in the air. We made the call together, lottery commission, official claim instructions, all by the book. They said we'd need to show up in person, IDs in hand, and they'd verify everything before arranging the payout. Just seemed calm enough. But I could see the way her fingers kept tapping first the counter, then the coffee cup, then the edge of the napkin she folded over and over until it looked like origami. "You okay?" I asked finally. She didn't look up. "I'm trying to be." "About the money?" "About all of it." Her voice cracked just slightly, like it snuck through her defenses without asking permission. "You ever get the feeling something good is happening too fast?" I knew what she meant. That sensation where your gut can't tell the difference between luck and warning signs. Just took a breath, stood up straight, and said, "I need to go home. Shower. Think. Can we meet there?" "The office?" I nodded. "I'll pick you up. Noon." She agreed, and I watched her walk out of the diner like she was carrying a secret too big for one person. Which, of course, she was. I stayed behind, nursing a coffee I barely tasted. Half an hour passed before the manager, Troy, came out from the back, eyebrows raised. "You and Jess working on something?" he asked, leaning on the counter like a guy who loved knowing other people's business. "What do you mean?" I kept my face blank. She looked like she just saw God. Or a ghost. "Something happened?" I shrugged. "She win a bet." "Got lucky?" Troy didn't look convinced. "She's been acting weird since yesterday. Just saying. If something's going on, might want to make sure she ain't being taken for a ride." I smiled politely. "Thanks for the concern, but she's got a good head on her shoulders." "Hope so," he muttered, disappearing into the back again. The second he was gone, my stomach twisted. If Troy already noticed the shift in her, how long before others did? And how long before someone realized the truth? By noon, I was parked outside her apartment complex, engine idling. The building was older, brick, 2 stories, no buzzers, just old-fashioned knocks and a cheap mailbox stuffed with coupon ads. Jess stepped out right on time, wearing jeans, a clean black tee, and a look that said she'd slept maybe 3 hours, tops. She slid into the passenger seat without saying a word, but her body language screamed tension, arms crossed, shoulders high, like she was bracing for something unseen. "You all right?" I asked, easing the car into gear. She hesitated. "Yeah." Then after a beat, "No." I waited. Sometimes silence works better than questions. She sighed, turned toward the window. "My ex, he showed up this morning." That made my grip on the steering wheel tighten. "At your place?" "Yeah." Said he heard I was suddenly doing real well. Wanted to talk. Apologize. Reconnect. And by reconnect, he meant, give me some of your money. I clenched my jaw. "Did you tell him?" "No," she said quickly. "But I think someone else did." We stopped at a red light. I turned toward her. "Who?" She bit her lip. "Troy's cousin. He was in the diner last night. Overheard us talking before you came in today." I exhaled slowly. "This thing's leaking faster than I thought," I muttered. She pulled her phone from her pocket and tossed it into the center console like it had betrayed her. "I've got 8 missed calls. 5 texts. 1 voicemail where he actually said, and I quote, 'You owe me for wasting my 20s. Classy." She laughed hollow. "That's not even the best part. He said if I don't share, he's going to tell people I stole the ticket from you." I swerved slightly into the next lane, earning a honk from a passing SUV. Jess reached over, steadying my arm. "I didn't even touch the ticket until today," she said. "It was your idea. You brought it in." "I'd never." "I know. But what if people believe him?" I didn't answer right away. Because honestly, some might. We pulled into the lottery office parking lot. Big glass building, generic signage, security cameras staring down like bored guardians. I parked, engine ticking, and turned to her. "You ready?" I asked. She didn't respond. Just stared at the building. Then finally, "We're not going to be able to keep this quiet, are we?" "No," I admitted. "Probably not." Jess sat back, closed her eyes for a second, and whispered, "Then we'd better make sure we're on the same side before the storm hits." And something in the way she said it made me realize this wasn't about money anymore. It was about trust. Which, if we were being honest, was harder to split than any prize. The lottery office was colder than expected. Not in temperature, but in tone. They walked us through metal detectors, scanned IDs, then separated us. Jess went to one side of the glass partition. I went to the other. Apparently, claiming a prize of this size involved separate interviews, verification, notarized signatures. All while a very cheerful woman named Marla explained in clinical detail how everything would be made public. "You'll be photographed. There's a press release." Local media often picks it up, especially when it's 2 winners splitting a single ticket. People love stories like this. Jess looked at me through the glass when she heard that. Just a flick of her eyes, but I saw the same worry in mine reflected in hers. They made copies. Had us sign a joint claim form. Printed us out a temporary proof of prize receipt that looked like a bank check, and a passport had a baby. Marla handed us each a packet. Taxes, distribution options, counseling services. The works. You'll have access to the funds within 10 business days, she said. And again, congratulations. Not many people honor a split like this. It's rare. Jess didn't smile. Neither did I. We stepped outside into the late afternoon heat, and it felt like someone had changed the lighting on the whole world. Nothing was the same anymore. Not really. We sat in the car for a minute. No words. Just breathing. Finally, Jess broke the silence. I didn't think it would feel like this, she said. Like what? Like I just opened a door I can't close. I stared straight ahead. You didn't open it alone. She nodded. Then slowly pulled a folded slip of paper from her purse. A phone number. A name. My ex gave me this. Said I might need a lawyer just in case. In case I wanted to go after all of it. I didn't move. I didn't take it to use it, she said. I took it so I could decide not to. There it was. The line in the sand. She could still walk away with everything, legally or otherwise. But she hadn't. Yet. I reached into the glove box, pulled out a receipt I'd saved from the gas station, the one from when I bought the ticket. I held it up. This says the time, date, location, last 4 digits of the ticket. Proves I bought it. She stared at it. So, you've got proof. Yeah. You're saying if I changed my mind, if I wanted to keep it, you could fight me. I could. She leaned back, eyes closed. And you're telling me that. Why? I looked at her then, honest and flat and exhausted. Because I don't want this to be built on fear. If we're going to do this, split it, keep it quiet, protect each other, I need to know it's by choice. She didn't answer. Not with words, anyway. She opened the car door, stepped out, and tore the lawyer's number in half. Then again. Then again. She dropped the scraps into the parking lot. That's my answer. We drove in silence. Not the tense kind, just careful. Like every word might tip the balance one way or another. Back at her apartment, Jess invited me in. I hesitated, but she gave me this look, equal parts tired and brave, and I followed. The place was cleaner than I expected. Sparse. A worn couch, a bookshelf lined with second-hand novels, a chipped coffee table with half a coaster set. Lived in, but guarded. Jess tossed her keys on the counter and turned to me. You want a beer? I nodded. She handed me one, cracked hers open with a shaky thumb, and leaned against the fridge. Okay, she said. Cards on the table? I waited. My ex. He's not gonna let this go. Especially if word gets out. I raised an eyebrow. You think he'll try something? I think he already has, she said, pulling out her phone and showing me a photo. It was a screenshot of a Reddit post. The title, My ex-girlfriend just won the lottery and is trying to screw me out of a deal we made. I read the first few lines. They were vague but toxic enough. She promised me a cut. Now she's ghosting me. I know where the ticket came from. Jess shook her head. I never promised him anything. Not one word. But it didn't matter. Not in the court of public opinion. I scrolled down. The post had nearly 4,000 upvotes. People were speculating. Guessing locations. One person even said, bet this is that diner chick from Brookfield. My stomach turned. Okay, I said slowly. We go full lockdown. Lawyer up. Get ahead of it. I already called someone, she said. A friend of my brother's. Media guy. He's gonna help us with messaging, interviews, if we even do one. I nodded. Smart. Then I pulled out my phone and did the thing I'd been avoiding since yesterday, texted my lieutenant. Just a heads up. Something personal is about to hit the news. All legit. Just don't want it to blindside you. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then nothing. Just caught the look on my face. He gonna be a problem? Maybe. I sighed. I'm a cop, Jess. I'm supposed to be clean. This much money changes how people look at you. You didn't do anything wrong. Doesn't matter. We stood there in the kitchen, the hum of the fridge the only sound. Finally, she said, what if we just disappeared? Didn't go public. Moved. Changed names. You thinking about running? She shook her head. No. Just wondering what it would cost to feel safe. And that's when I realized the money wasn't the danger. The story was, we didn't run. We did something harder. We stayed. The story broke 2 days later. A small headline at first, local waitress, cop split lottery windfall. Then the noise started. Press calls. Old friends resurfacing. Relatives Jess hadn't spoken to in years. And right behind them, her ex. He tried to sue. Claimed emotional damages, verbal contracts, slander. It didn't go far. Her lawyer shredded the claims in 3 paragraphs. But the damage was already done. I stopped going to my usual diner. Just quit 2 weeks later. Said she couldn't handle being looked at like a walking ATM. We met up in a park on the edge of town. Neutral ground. She wore a hoodie and sunglasses, like fame was a curse she never asked for. I want to give you back your half, she said, handing me an envelope. I didn't open it. You earned it. I didn't ask for it. Neither did I said. But here we are. We sat there in silence for a while. Kids were laughing somewhere behind us. Leaves rustling. Life still happening. Finally, I said, you still want to disappear? She looked at me. Not like you think. I just want quiet. Peace. Something no one can claim or threaten. So do it. Jess nodded, and that was the last time I saw her. 3 months later, I got a postcard. No return address. Just a photo of a sleepy coastal town, waves curling over a pale shoreline. On the back, she'd written, "Found the quiet. Hope you do too." I stared at that card for a long time. Thought about everything we'd split, money, pressure, fear, trust. But it wasn't until then I realized what we'd never actually split. The moment. The promise. The weight of one small, reckless kindness that turned into something too big for either of us. I framed the card. Hung it next to the receipt from the gas station. Most days, I still carry a $5 bill in my wallet. Just in case someone earns a tip. Or a chance.